Hurricane-force winds, sub-zero temperatures, minimal oxygen. It's no wonder Everest has claimed the lives of over 200 people.
Privileged to survive this long, I suppose.
Yet the determination of the human spirit has driven a team of amateur climbers to challenge the highest mountain on Earth.
Physiologically, we're not meant to be at this altitude, and things can go wrong.
Novice Betsy has collapsed high on the mountain.
She's been lying in the snow for the last 10, 15 minutes.
And Everest is testing Tim Medved's to his breaking point.
The sun was beating down on us so hard and it was just killing me.
It's Judgment Day.
We're not sure that you can do it.
As expedition leader, Russell Brice decides who gets to go for the summit and who goes home.
Put your crampons on backwards and you never climbed before, you have no business on the mountain whatsoever.
Day 26 on Everest. 4.5 vertical miles above sea level, just below the death zone, 11 climbers are fighting for their place on the summit team. They've been given 5 hours to climb from North Col Camp 1 to High Camp 2 at a lung-busting 24,500 feet.
We've got a curfew on this stage to climb. We have to get up to Camp 2 within 5 hours, otherwise we're off the team.
It's a grueling test, and expedition leader Russell Brice is watching their every step.
We've seen it before. If you can't get to Camp 2 in 5 hours, you're not going to get to the summit.
At Camp 2, Guide Woody is watching the clock, and they're almost out of time.
It shouldn't be taking more than 5 hours to get here. We set these deadlines in terms of a time frame, because then higher on the mountain, the problem compounds itself.
The climbers are barely halfway to the summit, and Englishman Rod Bader is struggling. At this altitude, the air has less than half the oxygen he's used to at sea level.
I don't do anything now. I've been coughing blood, by the way. And it's only going to get harder now. We're pretty much just below the level where we have to start taking on oxygen.
At 23,000 feet, temperatures can drop to minus 40. But today, the mountain has thrown a curveball. With the snow reflecting 90% of the sun's heat, it's a sweltering 85 degrees. The climbers are dehydrating fast.
They're at high altitude, they don't want to carry too much weight, so at most each of them was carrying a litre of water. Now, they would have lost a litre of water in the first couple of hours of walking.
For LA journalist Betsy, this is the highest she's ever been.
I dream big, I go out and I try things that are very difficult. You have a dream, you have a vision, you can see yourself on top of the mountain.
Sheer determination has gotten her this far. But now, her lack of experience is having serious consequences. She's burnt her face in the intense sun. She's not drinking enough water, and she's close to exhaustion.
I'm trying my best and doing my best. What can you do?
The grinding climb in thin air has brought her to a standstill.
There's just no air. And without air, your brain doesn't work.
And after 4.5 hours of climbing, Betsy is less than halfway to Camp 2. Higher up the slope, Guide Dean has spotted she's in trouble.
Woody from Dean, copy?
Betsy hasn't moved for a long time.
Yeah, Woody. I've been sitting in the snow for about the last 3/4 of an hour watching Betsy. She's about 100 metres below me, probably only halfway up the slope.
Dean decides the situation is becoming critical.
I'm going to have to descend. She's been lying in the snow for the last 10, 15 minutes, so I don't know what. I've got to go down and check it out.
above them, even the fittest climbers are struggling in this sweltering heat. For the first time ever, Danish triathlete Mogens Jensen is failing a time trial.
Normally I can go up to Camp 2 in a leisurely pace in 3.5 hours. And with the intensity today, it's going to be probably 5.5 hours, so it's way too slow.
As Dean reaches Betsy, she still hasn't moved.
I just can't breathe going up here. I just feel like I'm gonna pass out.
When you feel like you want to lie down on the snow, it's not a good sign.
In the thin air, Betsy's heart and lungs are struggling to fuel her body and brain. She's experiencing the symptoms of hypoxia.
If you're very severely hypoxic, you'll be very unwell, people's judgment begins to get affected. Maybe sit down, act drowsy, it will progress to inactivity, confusion, slurred speech, coma.
Dean must convince Betsy to go down before it's too late.
I know you're a very determined person, but how do you feel about turning around?
I don't want to turn back.
I think you can come 4.5 here, and it's the easier half of the journey.
If you say it's as far as I've already come,
Yeah. I would say you're halfway,
yeah.
and the hardest part is to come.
Betsy knows if she can't make Camp 2, she may be thrown off the summit team. But it's clear to Dean she's already beyond the limit. For Betsy, this could be as high as she ever gets.
I don't want to hurt myself or anybody else. I don't. I feel I can get to that point.
The harsh reality of her situation is finally dawning on Betsy.
Turn around. 100.
Dean calls Russell at base camp with the news.
We're just having a chat with Betsy now. She's gonna descend.
Yeah, okay, well, she knows the rules.
Is this the end of the Everest journey for Betsy? And is it the end for the rest of the climbers? They've all reached Camp 2, but most have missed the time cut.
Last hour and a half, 2 hours were definitely pretty tough. That sun is beating down and the suit is so hot. Which would be great when I'm up top, but it was just killing me. And then I ran out of water and dehydrated, and so that definitely added to slowing me down for sure.
The unexpected heat wave has mercilessly exposed their weaknesses, and none of the climbers can be confident of their place on the team. Betsy Hill's camp has been forced down the mountain after collapsing with hypoxia. She's made it to Camp 1, but the lack of oxygen is still hitting her hard.
I'm so exhausted. I just want to lay down right here. Right here would be fine. Right here, this little spot. And have a little nap. This is how I feel right now. Yeah, this is okay. This is nice. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, you have no idea how good this feels. No idea how beautiful my little dog's face is. You have no idea how beautiful my life is. I appreciate my life. I'm sorry that I took it all for granted. There's no place like home. Oh my God.
But she can't stay here. She must descend to the thicker air of Advanced Base Camp if she's to recover. Betsy's Everest dream may be over. Expedition leader Russell Brice must decide if she's strong enough to make it to the summit or send her home.
She told me that she'd done a bit more trekking and trekking peaks. If she did, she's forgotten everything that she learned.
You know, today I was supposed to make it in 5 hours. I didn't. 5 hours, I was halfway. But I am such a strong, adventurous person that I never give up. I just don't know how. I don't know how.
As the rest of the team arrive back at Advanced Base Camp, the scale of their failure becomes clear.
It took me 6 hours, 15 minutes to cover 2 miles, which is, sounds pathetic. But it's really difficult. Everything's accentuated 10, 20 times. And even super moans. I couldn't do it in under 5 hours.
It was like walking in a sauna and then wearing a down suit too. You know, if you can't breathe, you can't walk. It's quite simple. It's just terrible all the way up. Normally I can go there in a bit more than 3 hours, and I was almost 6 hours this time, so that puts it into perspective.
48-year-old British climber David Tait is one of the only team members to pass the 5-hour test.
It does what it's designed to do. You know, it whittles out people who won't be able to make it higher up. You know, you should be able to make that between, I know Russ says 5. I suppose he's right. 5 is good, but anything over that is, I think, pretty risky when you go higher.
Known David for a while, and he trains hard, determined man, very astute about what he knows about himself.
In 2005, David conquered Everest on Russell's team.
It was the hardest physical and mental challenge I've ever put myself through. And when I achieved it, it was an amazingly satisfying feeling, but not satisfying enough.
Now he's back to take on a challenge so daring, no one's even thought of doing it before, a double traverse of Everest. He plans to summit from the north side and descend the south into Nepal. If he makes it, he plans to climb back up to the summit and return to Russell's camp on the north side in Tibet.
And then we would have achieved a world first.
He has his own very personal reasons for taking on such impossible odds.
What I'm trying to do is trying to demonstrate to other abused children, because I was abused as a child as well, that things are possible, and that your life doesn't come to a grinding halt when someone decides to try and ruin it for you. You feel pretty second rate, and I hope to achieve this and feel even better about myself.
At Advanced Base Camp, Tim Medvets arrives back 5 hours behind the rest of the team.
I always take my time. I mean, I'm always last man back, but I'm paying Russell $50,000 to climb Mount Everest. You know? Relax, enjoy it, you know?
But he too failed the time trial by a full hour.
Oh, so no much. It means little man. Hello.
Last year, Tim's bad timekeeping cost him his summit. He ignored Russell's order to leave top camp early and was caught in a human traffic jam. And it almost cost him his life.
We have to see whether he leaves on time, whether he can actually get himself to do like we say. And we keep telling him, come on, guy, stop all the bull and get on with climbing the mountain properly for yourself.
But Tim still got attitude.
It's times like these, it's like, what's the rush? You know, so yeah, there's definitely deadlines going up, but coming down, no.
And the rest of the team are beginning to notice.
If Tim comes on the mountain and goes to the summit with us, and we've got all this evidence that Tim doesn't get out of bed for us, he doesn't do this, doesn't do that, doesn't do it, he enjoys being last. Then we get to Camp 4, on our summit bit, and suddenly there's Tim lying there looking up at me going, help me, help me. Whose problem is it? Personally, I'd like to step over and carry on doing my job.
Oh, a lovelier sight I've never seen.
Tim, Betsy, Rod, and Moans have all failed the final test. They're all candidates to be sent home early.
Without dramatising it, I'd say anybody who lets someone who can't get to Camp 2 inside a certain period of time, which is this arguable cut-off they have, you're asking for a dead person. And you're asking for someone to arguably die.
In the morning, all the climbers will head back down to base camp, where Russell will decide their fate. The climbers have spent 2 grueling weeks at 21,000 feet, conditioning their bodies to cope in the thin air. And after failing the final time trial, morale is low. But Tim, Betsy, Moans, and the others are about to get a much-needed break.
Packing down to go to BC. I'm ready for kicking back and relaxing, that's for sure.
Today, the team will trek 14 miles and drop 4,000 feet down to base camp. Before they return for the summit push, the climbers must rest and recuperate low on the mountain.
See you before the summit. We'll all need to rest and come back up and take her to the summit.
I'm off. See you later.
Bye.
Base camp.
They will still be higher than any point in the Rockies, but the thicker air at base camp will feel like sea level.
People generally, after a period of time at ABC, will start to deteriorate. They're not sleeping, they're not eating quite as much, they're getting little wounds and things that aren't healing. It's a harsh environment.
The whole camp is on the move, downwards. With each step the climbers take towards base camp, the rise in oxygen fuels their tired muscles.
Coming down to base camp just enables everyone to rest. You get a full night's sleep, your appetite comes roaring back, people are eating well, people feel better. I can see it in everybody. Everyone is just so much more comfortable and happy.
Finally at base camp, it's time for some R&R.
Oh, look at all that beer.
Okay.
In a few days, the climbers will take on the summit of Everest, but not everyone will be going back up. Day 28. Expedition leader Russell Brice calls an urgent meeting with his guides. He needs to know how his clients have performed. One weak climber can put the whole team in danger.
A lot of people that are coming here now, they don't have enough experience to get themselves out of trouble. And so that's why we have to be so careful about the days that we choose, the teams that we choose, and the shippers that we put with these people, and the guides that we put with these people, and so on. So we have to do a lot of that thinking for them and try and alleviate some of that risk factor for these people.
Top of Russell's hit list is asthmatic Moans, who still wants to try for the summit without bottled oxygen.
Mons seems to be getting weaker every year.
It's going to be interesting to see where he hits the wall this time.
He doesn't seem to be getting stronger or learning anything. You know, this year he's struggling at 7.5. Last year he was struggling at 7.9. The year before he was struggling at 8.3. He seems to be getting worse.
Last year, Moans collapsed 3,000 feet from the summit.
I'm hit by what felt like lightning, you know. And then the next minute, it's like, I'm gonna die here. I was so scared. Yeah.
But even a near-death experience hasn't stopped his obsession.
I don't think he'll ever make it without oxygen.
You want to reach this goal. He's just got to put his ego aside.
Yeah.
This year, he struggled to reach Camp 2, barely halfway to the top.
We got a bloke that's gonna mess us up.
I'm sure that it's possible, and I'm sure I'm gonna pull it off this year.
I'm not worried about it, frankly.
The summit team must be able to rely on each other.
Okay, what about the kid?
Billy the kid. You put me anywhere in the world, I'll always find a motorcycle.
Russell needs to know he can trust every member of the team.
I like Tim, but he really annoys me, because he sort of portrays that he's got this huge amount of experience. In actual fact, he's not much better than the bloody kid last year. So.
Beer. Beer. Yeah.
He's still very slow.
In my opinion, he still needs a kick in the every morning. You know, he's like in the shippers' pockets all the time, trying to get that ambulance with the shippers.
Shantytown. Give me a nice cold beer.
Tim's maverick attitude has got the guides nervous.
Scares that he pushed us too hard. He gets to the top, and then we get the call, you know, from the summit going, I'm in trouble.
Because he is going to be, you know, a handful on the return to the summit.
I can tell you one thing. I will climb the biggest, baddest mountain in the world, period. I'll be on the summit this year. You put that in your book.
Betsy?
Wow. Yeah, really.
The team's weakest climber is Betsy.
She's slow. Then when we went to go to Camp 2, it was a very hot day, admittedly, but most people made it. She was just stopping, lying down in the snow.
I think we've got to be a little bit lenient on this 5 hours to Camp 2 on that really hot day, because...
Do I still think I can do it? If you would have asked me that between North Col and the second camp, I might have said, I don't think I can. I don't think I can go another step. But then you come down here and you start to get rehabilitated and feel like each day I'm getting back to more feeling like myself again. I certainly don't want to give up.
She has recovered quite well, you know. Just a few days here, she's actually looked much better.
Her determination has impressed Dean.
She certainly tries hard.
She's tried.
She's very determined.
Yeah.
Very, very, very determined. More determined than probably a lot of the people here.
Been telling a few little porcupines really.
Judgment Day is looming, and Betsy still has reason to hope.
I'm not getting the feeling that they're going to ask me to leave.
British climber David Tait stands apart from the crowd of Everest dreamers. The 48-year-old businessman is about to attempt something never done before.
And according to the guides, it turns out that I might be the first Westerner to cross from north-south traverse. I might be the first person to do 2 summits in a season, Western person, I mean. And I might also be the first, well, I definitely will be the first person to double traverse ever, all in one go. It should be quite funny for a bloke who sits in an office.
David wants to climb over the mountain twice, from North Base Camp to South Base Camp, and back again, reaching the highest point on Earth twice in 10 days.
Hello. 90 kilograms.
Before he leaves, he must get the final once-over from Dr. Monica Perez.
Lots of skin coming off everywhere.
He must be in peak physical condition.
We can all always be in better physical shape, but he's in good shape. He's strong.
Also good to go is David's climbing partner, Sherpa Phurba Tashi. With the help of Russell Brice, these 2 men will see greatness against all odds.
Do you think that we're going to be able to descend the other side right the way down to Camp 2 on that day?
Last year's the bloody Chinese in here, and they can't climb up.
But neither man has ever stepped foot on the south side of the mountain.
If you and Phurba leave top camp, and you're on top at 6, you're down at South Col by 10:30, but there might be nothing there. Yeah, it might be a tent and that's all. We want to aim to get down to Camp 2.
Fierce winds and avalanches have stopped anyone summiting from the south side this season, so there are no safety ropes in place. Like the first explorers here, David and Phurba will have to break trail in deep snow in unknown territory.
Okay, so you come down the summit, and you come over the Hillary step, down to the balcony. But you need to be safe, because for sure this rope's not going to be here. It goes down to the crevasse, the bergschrund here.
One experienced Sherpa has already died on the south side this year.
I mean, you need to take a couple of pickets and a couple of screws.
If they survive this far, David and Phurba must negotiate the notorious Khumbu icefall.
You've got to rope up conventional crevasse style, glacier travel. You talked about falling down a crevasse. You need to rope up for that from the bottom of the coombe, at the bottom of the head wall.
More people have died in the icefall than on any other section of Everest. Last year alone, it claimed 4 lives.
This is where the big crack is, yeah?
Yeah. Here.
It's the place Sherpas fear the most.
We have to go this side a little bit, then we cross here. Then
David wanted to climb alone,
they don't know. They drive straight.
Straight, yeah.
So
but was persuaded by Russell to take Phurba Tashi with him. He's a living legend, with 12 Everest summits to his name. And he's already been up once this year, fixing 3 miles of safety rope all the way to the top. He's a leader, a guide, and to some, a savior. In 2006, he carried double amputee Mark Inglis down the mountain.
He's so special. And even amongst the other Sherpas, he's special. He has a certain ambience around him. He's a very, very good leader, very good tactician. He's very clever with logistics and technically sound and safe.
Even Phurba can't guarantee safe passage on this expedition.
You guys have got to work close as a team, you know, because we can't make a disaster out of this whole thing either, you know.
For his climbers to make it over and back alive, Russell must accurately predict Everest's hellish weather patterns. He must find 2 good summit days on a mountain where one is a blessing.
But from
The smallest error can prove fatal. In 1996, 12 climbers were trapped on the south face of Everest in a storm that claimed 8 lives. Among the dead were respected mountain guide Scott Fisher and Russell's friend, Rob Hall.
Rob Hall could talk to his wife back home in New Zealand, but he died. And he couldn't even talk to his second guide 100 meters away.
The 96 disaster revolutionized Russell's communication strategy. Every member of his team now carries a radio. But once David and Phurba step off the summit and start down the south side, they'll be in a radio dead spot and completely on their own. Deciding when to send them is a big call. Russell's decision could mean the difference between life and death for the 2 climbers.
As you can see, the wind's come today, and that was forecast to come this afternoon.
To get them over and back, Russell is forced to gamble on a mammoth 12-day forecast.
I think it's going to be windy until about 14th or 15th. So I think he should be up in that first wave, when the wind's going down.
It's a 5-day climb from base camp to the top. Counting back, he must work out when David and Phurba must leave to hit the best weather on summit day.
So we're going for 15 summit, 14-3.
2 years of planning are over.
13-3.
The moment of truth has arrived.
10. We should be going today.
"48-year-old British businessman David Tait is about to test himself to breaking point.
I've been waiting for this for a long time, and suddenly it's here. It's like, whoops. It's sort of, what have I done, you know? I've just got to get on and do it.
His climbing partner, Phurba Tashi, will follow in a few hours.
Good luck.
So David will start alone.
Okay, I'm here. All right? Bye, guys. Take care, huh? I'll give you a call from the summit.
No one knows when or if they will see him again.
David's like 007, so I have no doubt in my mind that David's going to do what he set out to do.
Yeah, for me, he's kind of crazy. Go over the ice fort twice. Many people killed there, and dangerous place.
He's definitely the man for it. He's mentally strong, he's physically strong, but for getting to the south side, well, it's only halfway there for him, you know. He's still got to get back up and over it.
In a peculiar sense, I quite like being out there on my own. But it is a bit intimidating at the same time to be disappearing by yourself, yeah.
Every time I put people up high, I'm concerned about their safety. You know, it's a gamble for even the very, very best people. It's a gamble.
At base camp, Russell has weighed up the odds. The climbers are about to learn who's on the summit team and whose lifelong dreams are over.
I will summit. Period. I've visualized it. I've been living it, breathing it, eating it for the last year. I will summit.
I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that. I don't know that I'm not. But I know that there's a lot of people here that are very, very aggressive. And God forbid you get in anybody's way here. You know, everybody's got a serious agenda.
I would go home if he said that I couldn't go out there without oxygen and have a go at it. Because, you know, he knew my intentions before I even came here, so... I'm here to redeem myself to myself, primarily, and then I'm going to show him that I can do it, because I'm as strong as he ever was.
You seem to be doing worse every year than the year before.
I wouldn't say that.
But still violently ill when you got to Camp 2 and so on.
No, well, I felt all right when I got into the tent and relaxed my lungs.
Well, it seemed, David told me that you had to take your boots off and all these sorts of things.
So that's I know my symptoms. I know when my asthma is trouble and my breathing is trouble.
The more Moans comes back, the less he seems to achieve. And,
isn't it just he's got to push himself beyond some limit?
Well, yeah, but is he going to push himself to the limit that he can't get down? And, you know, it's a dangerous game to be doing.
I'm feeling stronger than ever.
The other guides and myself would urge you to be taking oxygen.
Yeah, I know that.
And we're not sure that you can do it without.
I am.
But we are concerned also that you push too hard.
I won't do that. I think I have a good margin enough.
Moans must persuade Russell he's not on a suicide mission.
It's not doable for me to do it. My life doesn't end if I don't summit.
Yeah.
So... But we can, yeah.
Moans has made it on the team, and despite Russell's advice, he's still determined to summit without bottled oxygen.
He's not overly confident I can do it, and of course I disagree with him about that one, because I'm sure I can. But it's his job to worry. You know, if he didn't care, we'd have much more havoc on the mountain.
Tim's maverick attitude has brought his summit place into question.
My game plan is, all right with you, is whatever the call time is, I'm gonna get out at least 30 minutes before everybody and get a jump on everybody.
You don't have to do that, because sometimes the call is designed for the weather and things like that. If you want to get to the summit, because you know it's going to take a long time to come down, you gotta get up in the morning, get your together, man.
Problem isn't, you know, with me getting out of the tent in the morning with all my metal in my body and all the cold, my body's pretty much tightened up.
Don't be too confident just because you've been there 90% of the way so far.
He's right, I'm overconfident, definitely confident. I'm not going to deny that.
You know, it's the same thing last year. Look what happened, you got left behind. So.
Yeah, if you're not confident, you know, you're negative.
Can't play games. Gotta be solid.
Okay.
Okay? Get out of here.
That's it?
Yeah.
For the second year running, Tim will get a shot at the summit.
Oh, glory, going to the top, summit.
Next into the hot seat is Betsy.
How you feeling? Yeah. Good looking.
After not making it to Camp 2, all she can do is promise to try harder.
I'm up for it, you know, and I will be up for it until I meet a brick wall.
Looking at your cramponing ability and saying, well, really that doesn't...
But can Betsy's determination get her past Russell? At base camp, it's judgment day for Betsy.
Been talking with the other guys, you know, we said that before I left to come down here.
She has one last chance to persuade expedition leader Russell Brice that she's good enough for this year's summit team.
You know, going up to North Pole, the first time when we tagged it, I did okay. The second time when we went up, and spent the night, I did okay. And then the third time when I was really fatigued and really hot.
Of course, on that hot day, we wouldn't have expected everyone to get to 2 and 5 hours. But you didn't make it. You know, if you don't make it there, really, it's, you know, not the right place to be going higher.
The 46-year-old journalist has come to Everest with a burning ambition.
I dream big. I go out and I try things that are very difficult.
Her quest to make it to the top of the world has pushed her abilities to the limit.
Everything that's in my heart that I've ever wanted to do in my life, I go out and I try it.
Leave that alone, Betsy.
Sheer willpower got her to 23,500 feet, higher than any mountain outside the Himalayas.
You have a dream, you have a vision, you can see yourself on top of the mountain.
But such determination can be deadly on a mountain that's claimed 210 lives.
You don't have any tricks up your sleeve. You don't have any reserve there. We just think that you're going to put yourself in more danger all the time. Really, we're saying that we don't think that you've got the strength to go for the summit.
For Betsy, the Everest dream is finally over.
Sorry, sweetheart.
Great.
But you take care. Please. Yeah. Okay. Stuff on.
You know, they wanted me to do things in a certain time limit, and I didn't get it done, so...
What's it like to tell people if they can't go to the summit? It's not very easy.
I feel like there's certain people that probably didn't want me to do this from Kathmandu.
I don't know. It's also my job to look after people, to make sure that they stay alive.
It's not a big surprise that Betsy's not on the summit team. She shouldn't have been here in the first place.
If you put your crampons on backwards and you never climbed before, you have no business on the mountain whatsoever.
Anybody that, you know, comes here without any respect for this mountain, I don't have respect for it.
Everest is a bleak place, and it's cold, and it's dirt, and it's rocks. It's a cold place, and I'm not even talking about the weather anymore. It's a cold place.
You don't come here prepared, the mountain will chew you up and spit you out. And that's what it did with her.
I'm not a cold person. I'm a warm person, and this place scares me on more than one level. It really does.
Betsy can now only watch as the rest of the team go for the summit.
And I can't help but look around. I think in a couple weeks' time, some of these people aren't going to be the same. Something bad's going to happen to some of these characters. And even the ones that I thought I wouldn't care about, I'm starting to care about everybody. And I think, oh, I don't want to see any of these people hurt. I want to hear that David Tait didn't make it back.
Next time on Everest Beyond the Limit, the summit is finally open for business and the climbers are on their way. Everest's violently unpredictable weather puts David Tait's world record bid in jeopardy, and the mountain claims its first victims.
He maybe use some toes anyway.
It's the fear of the unknown. If you're not scared, then there's something wrong with you, I'd say.